All right, I think we are good to go. That's my usual disclaimer. This may or may not be working. If those who are watching live in chat right now could give me a quick thumbs up to let me know that you can hear us, you can see us, then that will be fantastic. Until I start seeing those come through, I would like to welcome everybody to what you normally see as my Learn to Play stream, where we run new games for GMs and players with the intent to have a resource for players who want to try a game with their group to be able to send the other players and their GM a video, say, here, this is how it's done. This is it from a very slow pace to be able to get them to see what they're getting into. And at the same time, if a GM wants to switch up the game for a little bit, they can use us as a resource to sell it to their players. But in the long run, we're just here to help people learn the games that they want to play and maybe troubleshoot issues in player creation and mechanics. As we all know that we've come across questions that we just can't make sense of in the book quite often. So yeah, today I've got Emmet. How do you pronounce your last name? Is it Byrne or Byrne?
It's Byrne.
Okay, so we have Emmet Byrne with us today from Cubicle 7 Games. He is the producer of Age of Sigmar, and we would normally be streaming our Age of Sigmar Soulbound Learn to Play game right now, but one of our players is in the process of moving, so I figured that it would be a perfect time to have Emmet on the stream, because I was trying to work with him to do an interview for our Facebook group via the Discord, but obviously, well, no, it is what it is, right? You were very busy, and with the release of the book 2 weeks ago, we seen what that busy looks like. That book is a gorgeous book. Like, everything in that book is phenomenal. The production value in the book itself and the images and the writing and just the way that everything is laid out is one of the best books in my eyes to ever come out. And while...
Come on now.
I could go on if you want me to.
Please do. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'll sit here for an hour and listen to this.
There's only so much smoke. Yeah, so for people who are familiar with who I am, you may be familiar with me in a lot of the Warhammer role-playing discords, like the Ratcatchers Guild for Warhammer Fantasy, or our Wrath and Glory Discord for the Wrath and Glory RPG game, as well as the Age of Sigmar Discord, and the Age of Sigmar Facebook group, which we hit 1,000 people yesterday, so that was kind of cool. Yeah, so like I've seen all three games kind of come out in their own time, and I'm sold on Age of Sigmar. I'm not going to lie, when AOS first got announced for like the war game, I was one of those people that did table flipping. Like, what the fuck is this crap? Like, what the hell did they just do? Because I was a huge fan of like the novels for fantasy. Like, I have a whole bunch of the old ones, and I had a few armies on the go for the tabletop game. So when that was all made null and void, I was a little irritated. And then AOS version 1 came out, and, you know, it was kind of whatever. But then when AOS 2 came out, it really started to catch people's eyes as a better rule set. And the world itself, actually getting into listening to some of the audiobooks for the world, because I don't have time to read, and the audio dramas, like the Gotrek ones, they're phenomenal. They really get you into the world. And while there is some links to the old world versus the new world, the old world versus the mortal realms, they are entities on their own. So it's kind of hard to see one and the other in themselves nowadays.
Yeah, I think they're absolutely their own thing now. You know, I mean, in the same way that, you know, 40K is theoretically 40,000 years after fantasy, right? Like, that was the initial kind of pitch. You know, Age of Sigmar is its own thing. I think with second edition that Games Workshop released, and all the new battle levels and everything that's come out, and you really see the potential that there is in Age of Sigmar and in these realms and this story. It's a much more mythic thing, and each of them can exist on their own. You know, so obviously we have Warhammer Fantasy, and then we have 40K, we have Age of Sigmar, and they all as games themselves, they play very differently,
Yeah.
and the theme and the feel of them is very different throughout. You know, you're getting a different experience from each thing, and it's whatever you want to get from your experience.
Yeah. Yeah, and like both RPG games are handled in a different way as well, whereas your old world is dark and gritty and you play the person who's living in the muck. Whereas with the AOS, we're approaching it from a heroic fantasy standpoint now, where you are the titans that are walking across the battlefield, which I think is kind of it's fun in its own.
Yeah, I saw someone posted up on Facebook the other day. I can't remember what it was, but I was talking to someone. Maybe it was on the Discord, but they were saying basically that they were doing a Warhammer Fantasy campaign and or their adventure arc, and the boss for the adventure was a bloodletter demon.
I think I've seen that.
Yeah, and like I was just laughing because bloodletters in Soulbound are like minions. They take one hit and they're dead. Like that's it. Whereas, so that's kind of the power level you're at. Where, you know, in Wolfbrook, a bloodletter is this scary demon that can be the culmination of a couple of adventure arc. Whereas in AOS, you just plow through 100 of them on your first adventure. You know? That's the kind of difference that you have in the feel of it. It's much, Age of Sigmar is much more epic in scope, but you still have a lot of that kind of darkness and threat there. You're not just going to be, the more powerful you are, the more powerful the threats are. So you're going up against greater demons who will just beat the hell out of you. But it's a different feel, absolutely.
Yeah. I just remember that I'm not recording this. So I'm going to start recording now. I'll put in a little bit of a filler afterwards, and then we'll just run like nothing has gone wrong, because
sure, yeah,
I always do this. So anyway, to go to where we were on our Discord interview, I was wanting to focus a little bit more upon your past history with gaming, because from what I know, you were not you were brought on specifically for Soulbound. Is that correct?
Yeah. So when Cubicle 7 moved to Ireland and Dom was expanding out the team, with so many lines on board and so many things to work on, the idea was to give each producer different lines and stuff. So I was brought on and given Age of Sigmar, Soulbound, and then I was also over Adventures Middle Earth and the One Ring. And yeah, I got to work with Dom on designing the Age of Sigmar system. It was just Age of Sigmar RPG at the time. Designing the system and doing a lot of the writing. So myself and Dom worked very closely on that, and obviously we had huge help from Zach, who's a Wrath of Glory producer, and TS, who is in the chat. Hi, TS. So we had a wealth of people to draw on there. But it was kind of myself and Dom who did like a lot of the crunch, and then a lot of the wonderful fluff that you read in the book is the work of TS and David Geimer and Elaine Lithgow did the entire bestiary. So there's a lot of very talented people who have put their names on the book.
Awesome. And for those who have not been following our stream, I actually have Elaine as one of the players. I have Elaine, one of the writers, and Rune, one of the artists. So that was kind of cool to be able to snag them for the Learn to Play, because they're playing characters that they've had a chance to have a hand in. Rune drew the Trade Pioneer and the Mastori, and I believe Elaine made the fluff for the Mastori, also known as the Starfire. Yeah, those are cute. And actually, Rune was working on the stuffy that he was making of the Mastori on stream last week, which is kind of cute.
It's so cool.
If he's not careful, that's going to be his new job, making those.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no time for art. Got to make plushies.
Yeah.
Rune did all. Did the Trade Pioneer, did all of the Idoneth, which just look incredible.
Yes.
Rune will be doing the Idoneth archetype in the upcoming Champions of Order book as well, so all of the Idoneth will sit together really nicely. And Rune did the Witch Elf as well, and some other pieces that are in the book as well, which are just absolutely wonderful. And then Elaine was absolutely huge help on the bestiary. We actually, Elaine had put in all these wonderful quotes for each section, kind of in-world quotes and rumors, but because of space, we ended up having to pull them out. So we're going to try and get them into something else, because they gave a lot of wonderful kind of fluff and feel for the world. And also, we have an adventure book, so I'm just going to probably just throw the whole thing at Elaine. Like, hey, write this 250-page book, please.
There you go. Well, I think she's up for that task. She's done a phenomenal job so far.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the writing, where did you get started at? Like, what did you do before Soulbound?
Yeah, so I actually, my background is animation and video game design, I guess. So I went to college and did video games. It was like a game design course. And then at the end of the game design course, they told us, okay, this course is too broad. You need to specialize to actually get into the games industry. So I said, okay. And I went and did 4 years of animation. So I have an animation degree for that. And then when I got into the animation college and I realized how much more talented everyone else was than me. So I ended up just kind of falling into production, I suppose. Like, our last year of college, there was the student project, and with all student projects, no one would take responsibility for anything, and it was so we're like, okay, well, we need a spreadsheet to get through all of these scenes. So I did up a spreadsheet and everything, and that was my first inadvertent steps into production management and stuff. It went from there. I joined an animation studio as a producer, worked on, and then they started moving into doing some kind of games and apps, so I worked on those. And I joined an app company and worked there for a few years. And then one of my friends sent me a link to a role-playing game producer in Ireland job listing, and I just couldn't believe it because it was like, without hyperbole, it's literally my dream job, and I never thought it would be available in Ireland. So I applied, got to meet Dom and Elaine, who's our business coordinator, different Elaine. And yeah, started working with Cubicle 7. Prior to that, I had already been in my spare time writing adventures for D&D on the DM's Guild. So I had a couple of DM's Guild adventures and things. And so it was everything happened at the same time, weirdly, where I was a producer who in the spare time was writing RPGs, and then a job came up for a producer to work on RPGs. So it kind of fit perfectly for that. So, I walked in and thought I'd be managing other people who were far more qualified, and Dom said, "Hey, write this game, please," which is hyperbole. We we all obviously worked on it together, but I was left to my own devices to write. It would be a very different, much worse game.
No, I think that's one thing that people don't really see is the organization that goes into the creation of an epic product like Age of Sigmar. Like, you see the people who are writing the book and the art that goes there and even the layout and the graphic design that goes in the book, but it's not too often that the light is shone on the person who basically waved their wand and made it all kind of come together with the deadlines that were imposed upon them and the restrictions as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always dangerous to hang a project on a single person. I think it's, this kind of myth in place in video games. You have stuff like Hideo Kojima and stuff like that. And you do have someone who drives a lot of stuff. But I mean, for me, everything was the working with the team and getting everything in place. But a big part is, okay, well, we need X amount of words. How many writers do we have to do that words? Okay, we need more writers. Okay, we'll send them out to those. Here's the briefs for the writers. It has to be this many words so it'll fit on the pages. How many pages is it? Okay, we need, it's 352 pages. For anyone who doesn't know, books go up in 16s generally. So 352 pages, about 10 or 20 of those are your credits and your appendices. So you have the bits in between. So you multiply that by about 500, 600. That's the amount of words you need. So that's, I don't know, 120,000 words, whatever it is. So yeah, you have to go and do all that, and then, okay, we know what we're doing roughly in the chapters. We need art for all of those, so we'll go and do the art briefs. Doing the art briefs involves, obviously finding artists. We have some incredibly talented in-house artists, and then we put a call out for more artists, and we got some incredible people like Rune and Clara Marie, who came on and did just some incredible stuff. She did a chunk of the stuff in the bestiary. She did like the Maw Crusher and the Magma Droth. She did all the Sylvaneth in the book as well. She did the Hag Priestess. Super talented artist. She's done some stuff for some of the upcoming Wolfrock stuff as well. Some of my favorite art. Incredible. So yeah, it's just kind of getting all these people and going, okay, here you go. it's a lot of asking other people to do work and feeling like you're not doing a whole lot yourself. um, so yeah, it's an interesting thing. You know, producer is such a nebulous term as to what it actually is, because I'm credited on the book as like designer and writer and producer, which is just
Oh yeah, like you see some games where they don't have a producer, they'll have different titles that basically mean the same thing, like editor or.
Yeah, you have like design lead, project lead, or project director, or whatever it's called. You know, even coming from animation, producer means something in animation than it means in movies and things like that. So it's a really nebulous term.
Did you have any experience in AOS before getting this gig?
With Age, I weirdly kind of around the time that Age of Sigmar launched, I and my group of our usual gaming group had kind of fallen out of RPGs and a couple of things, and we're really focused on board games. So Age of Sigmar, the actual battle game, I was tangentially aware of it, and that because I played a bit of Warhammer years ago, and I had played Wolfrup Second Edition from Green Ronin, and so I was aware of what was going on with Age of Sigmar, but I'd never really played it. Like when a couple of our friends played Warhammer and 40k when we were younger, but I had never had the money to put together an army. It was like, I'll play Magic, but I just have this deck, and that'll do.
Magic's no better though.
Yeah, that's like, oh fuck, so the cray, the friends who have all the money buy all the good cards. But so I never actually really, I played a couple of the war games using my friends' armies, but I never had my own army or anything like that. So I didn't have a huge amount of experience with Age of Sigmar coming into it. I always kept an eye on what was going on in the tabletop industry, which, you know, board games and war games and RPGs and things. But no, I hadn't a huge amount of previous experience with it.
Yeah, you know, I kind of see that as a trend. I'm seeing a lot more now that when we're younger, we have the time and the attention to be able to put into something like an RPG, to be able to play it. And then as we get older and our life develops, we tend to put those things off to the side. And then as we start to get into our, I don't know, like I don't want to call them our older years, our prime time, our mid to late 30s and 40s, I'm seeing a lot of people come back to RPGs as a whole, which I think is kind of cool, because now that we have all this expendable money, in theory, we can buy some of this stuff. But
yeah, exactly. You can buy it and look it on your shelf with all the spare time you don't have. But no, I think, you know, the last few years is being a big upsurge in RPGs and board games and things like that, because so much of what we do is digital and it's online, and nothing beats sitting around with your friends and playing a game and, you know, just hanging out and talking. You know, I never hugely got into online gaming. Like, you know, I play a bit of Halo online. I dabbled in WoW and Knights of the Old Republic and stuff like that. But something about sitting around 4 people playing Smash Brothers or something like that. That's kind of more. I think you have that now. People are kind of yearning for that actual human contact. You know, especially now. I don't know about anyone else, but I've been in my house for the last 10 weeks, so I could do it sitting around the table with friends playing games.
Yeah. I haven't had that experience on my side because I was still considered essential, even though I'm in power generation.
Everyone needs power.
Well, we're a vendor or supplier for.
You're not like the WWE wrestlers who are essential service.
No. But yeah, so I've been in the office the whole time. It's actually now when I'm being affected by this, because we're being forced to take 7 days off. So I got a 6-day long weekend right now, which I'm not complaining about. I'm just complaining about that it's unpaid. So now how would you say that production changed with everybody being locked down and not having the office dynamic to lean on if you needed to?
It was tough. I mean, I think we transitioned pretty well. a good few of the staff would have worked 1 or 2 days from home anyway. So, myself, I have my home set up here anyway. I used to work Tuesdays, Thursdays from home, but I liked going into the office Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, yeah, because I work Tuesday, Fridays from home. Because we would play tests on Thursdays and we'd have our Monday meetings and stuff like that.
Right.
So working from home, it probably came at a decent time for me because I had a ton of writing to do. So just sitting in front of my computer writing, it was actually fine. But for things like the final stretch of getting the PDF out, that was a difficult thing. Where we have our designers somewhere and they're working on the files, and you need to get the files back and you need to send them notes. And one of our designers, unfortunately, lives in basically an internet black spot. So he really struggled to get files uploaded and downloaded, and so we had hassles like that. But I mean, for the most part, I think the team has done really well. We try to stay in contact as much as we can. We have regular meetings on Monday. Myself, Porrick, and Zach will have a call, just kind of three producers going, "Hey, can I have this artist?" And you say, "No, I want the artist." We're just to catch up, just to chat. We'll all have weekly meetings with Dom. For those who know that Dom's our CEO. So yeah, we've tried to stay in contact as much as we can. It's been weird. I think we're all kind of longing just to go into the office and just see people and chat and hang out a bit. Again, there's a downside to being in the office because you get distracted and you talk about random stuff and just start go off on one. But I always found it more beneficial to write when I was at home. It's hard to write in the office, but you get a lot more from me in the office, and you can just ask someone, "Hey, do you think this mechanic works, or is this stupid?" Or even if, when you're doing layout, you're like, "Actually, can you just change this, move this over one line, delete this word so this will come up," and blah blah blah. Trying to explain those when you're marking notes on a PDF is very difficult. You can do screen share, which helps a lot. But then if you have a case where someone doesn't have great internet, you can't do screen share. So I think the team as a whole has done really well, and things have really started to. I mean, you can see it hasn't really slowed down our release schedule. We released basically 2 core books while in lockdown essentially. So yeah, I think we've done all right.
Good. No, that's awesome to hear. Yeah, like you're saying, seeing the 2 major core books come out during this period of time is, for those who are waiting for them and who are into the Warhammer RPG aspect, it was awesome to be able to take them and look through them, and even have the time now to dedicate to actually going through the game itself, trying to figure out the system, and even provide some feedback for like typographical errors and such, and get them put back in. That's always been a really neat aspect to the PDFs that Cubicle 7 has put out, is being able to have some feedback from the players before it all goes to print. Like, there are, like, going back to like the Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay aspect, there's a few rules that were they didn't really work well with themselves, so being able to have the community provide some input, what would you say the value of that is from your standpoint?
The community input has been amazing. Like, for me, it's just nice to be able to talk to people about the game and see people playing it, enjoying it. The homebrew scene is just crazy for Age of Sigmar. The amount of stuff that's being made for Soulbound. We have a big long list of playtesters, which you are on in the book. We obviously had our own games in house. Each chapter was gone through editor twice and went through proofreading, and then it went through like yourself and Ash kind of had to read through it for us as well. And we picked up all these little errors and things, and then we released it. And of course, there's still a few little errors in it, but on the most part, like having the errata form and being able to get it out to the community has been hugely beneficial. It's a nice thing to do because we can be like, okay, well, we're going to release it. We don't have a print slot for 2 weeks or whatever it is. In that time, if anyone spots any errors, we can get those put in. But the community has been really helpful. We even managed to, like, from talking to Discord, I was like, yeah, actually, maybe I could actually change that before we go to print. Like one of the endeavors for the Fire Slayers, you needed Urgold to do it, which is really hard to find, and it was actually really punishing for Fire Slayers. And I saw a couple of threads on, I saw it on Discord, I saw it on Reddit, and I saw it on RPGNet. I was like, actually, yeah, that shouldn't be in there. So we put out the errata this week and we got rid of it. which has been really, really beneficial to be able to have that and be able to have that quick turnaround, which is the great thing with digital is you can keep, I suppose the great and bad thing is you can keep tweaking right up until you go to print, really. But it's, no, that having that from the community is a huge boon for us. And it's something that we like to do. It's, we don't rely on it from the community. We have editors in-house that go through, we have proofreaders and everything like that, but being able to have those little things, because something will always slip through. I think Soulbound has probably been one of the cleanest books we ever put out, and that's all credit to the editors and the proofreading team. The frustrating thing is a number of the errors that were introduced by me on the very last export, because again, we had internet problems with the designer. I had to make some tweaks last minute, screwed up the kerning on the text, so you get this weird text spacing, which some people might have seen. That was just basically, I flicked through the book. I was like, okay, I had to make these changes. Okay, fine, export it, put it out. And it hadn't gone through an editor or something like that on that last, which is, my bad, but we needed to get it out. So, but yeah, so the community input is really helpful for us. And something we hope to continue doing. It's, we don't rely on it because we have people to do it, but it's a big benefit to us.
Yeah, like you're saying, I was part of the playtest team. So as all of these chapters were starting to come together, you're letting us look at the PDFs that were basically finished and going through them versus the other two main core books. I think I even said it to you in our Discord. This was the cleanest that I've seen so far, like you were just saying. So it's good work is being done. I know I talked with now that I want to use his name, I can't remember it. Chris Waltz.
Oh yeah.
Like talking to him a bunch of things. Like I even was helping do a little bit of proofreading on Deadly Dispatch, which we had a chance to play and had recorded. Both parts are now out. Looking to him, I had a bunch of questions for him on how to handle things. Which is kind of funny because TS wrote that one, and there's a few things that TS had in his writing, and I looked at Chris like, how do you normally handle these? Okay. So then I went back to the PDF. No. So if there's any ellipses that were there before, they're not there now.
Oh, ellipses. TS, can you hear me? Ellipses. Oh, you are the bane of my heart with your ellipses. But yeah, no, it's we've a strong team there for everything that we do.
Yeah, it's only gotten better over the last few years since the release of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay.
Yeah, sure, and that's we have a much more expanded team now. In this, I think we have like 14 or 15 full-time staff. I think at times people don't realize how big Cubicle 7 is. We are probably one of the biggest RPG producers and publishers. We're not Wizards of the Coast, but we're up there.
Awesome. I'm just going to take a second here. So I have essentially a copy of the PDF of Soulbound that we're allowed to give away to those in the chat right now. So I'm going to get a raffle going in chat. If anyone wants to enter it, this will be for a PDF copy of Soulbound, which we'll end up getting to you at the start of next week. Hit !raffle in the chat, and then I'll have this running for about 10 minutes, and after 10 minutes, this will be auto chosen. So this is my first time doing a giveaway on my stream, so hopefully this works. Okay, it looks like it's working. So in 10 minutes time, anyone who puts in !raffle in the chat will have a chance to win a PDF copy of Soulbound, courtesy of Cubicle 7. And also too, if anybody else has any questions that we want to ask Emmet, tag me in the chat and I will see what we can do on getting that worked in. In the meantime, when it came to the system itself, the rolling mechanics for Soulbound, I quite enjoy it because it helps portray the heroic efforts of the Soulbound. And it also remains very light. Like, it's not bogged down by crunch. And when you're comparing D6 to D6, like if we go from Wrath and Glory to Soulbound, it's the same typical mechanics. Some numbers change. It's your standard attribute plus skills and a few other things. Even Wrath and Glory gets bogged down by a few little meta currencies and special systems like shifting your icons and such. What was your, I guess, process of coming up with the new system for Soulbound?
Yeah, one of the things at the start we talked about, Dom, we go through the goals for the system, and every system's going to have different goals. With Soulbound, you wanted you to feel heroic, and there's a tactile thing to throwing a lot of dice. The reason to use D6s was basically, people from the battle game they're a bit familiar with D6s, but also we wanted Soulbound to be an RPG that anyone could just pick up and play, like people who'd never played an RPG before. So we wanted the system to be simple, we wanted the dice to be recognizable, so anyone who's seen a D6 who's played Monopoly. I see a question about Seraphon. I called it. But yeah, so the D6 we wanted to do, because it's simple dice, you can do a lot with a D6 dice pool. And initially when I was coming up with working on it, I was like, okay, well, we have like a target number, like you would almost see in Age from Green Ronin. But then Dom was like, okay, well, we want people to be able to kind of see at a glance. We don't want them to have to do too much math at the table. So you go, okay, well, I need a 4, there's a 4, there's a 4, there's a 4, blah, 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 blah. You can do that much quicker. You can do that at a glance and kind of keep going. So that was kind of our through line through the whole creation of it. It's like, okay, well, does this make the game easier to play? Does it make it easier for new players to join? Does it make me feel heroic? Like a lot of the things in Soulbound were, yes, and like, do we need ammunition? No. Like you're not going to be counting arrows in Soulbound. And it was those kind of things that if it ever came to a crunch point, it was like, okay, well, does this make the player feel more awesome? Yes. Okay, we'll keep it in. It's we looked at a lot of perfect imbalance that you get in a lot of like League of Legends stuff, where it's one thing is really good, so you just bring everything else up to be as good as that, rather than weakening things. So that was kind of the design thinking behind it, was try and make it welcoming to people, try to make sure that everyone felt awesome as they were playing it, and try to make it fast and frenetic, because there's that kind of energy to the Age of Sigmar world, and it was trying to replicate that in the dice system and in the actual rules as you play. There's a couple of bits that we allowed ourselves a bit more, I suppose, kind of like the bits that start where you're calculating your melee and your accuracy. They're probably my least favorite part, I would say. I like the system myself of obviously comparing them, because along with Dom and the rest of the guys, I came up with it. But that's probably the most wonky bit of the system. But we allowed ourselves to go, okay, well, that's a bit of a weird part of the system. Realistically, you only have to calculate those at the start, and then you're kind of done. So it's that little bit of friction when you're creating a character, but then after that you're away, and it helps you with it helps you later on to keep things simple. You have a little bit of complexity at the start that people have to muddle their way through a little bit, and then later on it makes everything else simple. So that was kind of, we allowed ourselves that, and we tried to avoid other situations like that further on. Like we had damage types at one point. We had like fire and ice and all that kind of stuff. Just made it more complex and made it more minutiae in there. At times it's very hard to not layer more complexity on, because you want to, and you're like, okay, well, if we just do this, we can add more of this kind of stuff. And even putting in armor breaking was in there, then it wasn't in there, then it came back. And so there was kind of these little micro choices that we made throughout it. But the armor breaking stuff came in because it made other things feel awesome. So if a Caradron can repair equipment, if equipment can be broken, it makes a Caradron more important to the group. It's like, oh, thank God we have him with us, because he can fix our broken armor. So that's it sucks for a player to have the armor broken, but it can let other people feel really useful in those situations. So it was a balancing act to try and make it as welcoming as possible. But then I think you will see the more people get into it, you see there's a good chunk of depth to the system. It's always that cliche of easy to start and difficult to master, or whatever you want to call it, which sounds just like marketing spiel. But I think there's a decent bit of depth to the mechanics, which and it's easy for people to make new species and new monsters and things, which is something that we wanted to do as well.
Yeah, looking at a lot of the homebrew stuff that we've seen come across the Discord so far, that the moment that this hit, people were off and running with their own archetypes and their own creatures and this and that. One thing I liked about the system itself was the ladder, was the way that the melee and ranged and defense is all handled. Like you were saying, you go through a little bit of crunch at the very beginning, but it's really actually not that bad. And then you just use that from there on in. All you need from the GM is to know what their defense is, and then you're off running. And going through character creation, I did a stream on that about 2 weeks ago, right when the book first came out. And as long as you read through the character creation section itself, it's easy to follow through with what the design is intended to do. It walks you through every step of what you need. The hard part I have is when I don't have a book handy. All the flipping back and forth between skills and talents and archetypes and all this bog that down a little bit, but that's more on me than anything else. I would rather have that now and scroll through the PDF through the various bookmarks than have to wait until Q4 when the book is due to be, at this point, estimated to be printed and released.
Yeah.
So it's a small price to pay, but I think the chapters were laid out decently on their own to be able to walk through character creation relatively quickly. Once you get to know what you're doing, having a character rolled out in 10 minutes would not be unforeseen.
Yeah. I mean, there's always these things that you question as you're laying out the book, and you want people to be able to go through it step by step and not have to flick back and forth. But it's kind of unavoidable, Like, okay, step one, pick your archetype. You have to flip to the archetypes chapter. Like, we could have listed all the archetypes there, but then by the time you got to the archetypes chapter, like, okay, step two, which just seems very weird. And then, it's okay, well, pick your skills and talents. Here's 100 skills and talents. And then after that, you get to step three. It's, there's a couple little things you have to do. That's why I love Dresden Files RPG and Numenera, the Marginalia that they use. So I was like, we are using Marginalia. We only use it in 2 chapters, but we use it in the 2 chapters that need the most rules reference. So we have in chapter 2, which is character creation, chapter 6, which is the rules. If something comes up, it's highlighted, flags in the marginalia, where to go in the chapter. So we tried to make it as easy as possible for people to know what pages things were on. But at some point you do end up doing a bit of flicking back and forth, and it's kind of unavoidable with it. I suppose a system of this size, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so as I was asking chat earlier on, let's jump to some of their questions quickly. Unless there's anything else that you want to add first before we move on to that.
I think I'm good.
Cool. All right, so first question from DevilPup16. What is your favorite faction for AOS?
Oh, Night Haunts. 100%. Night Haunts. Yeah. I love anything undead. I'm like, give me ghosts and zombies and things like that. Yeah, Skaven as well, but I really like the Night Haunts. Just the Black Coach is like my favorite model in the whole range. Like, and the models in AOS are doing like gravity-defying stuff. It's just absolutely incredible. But like the Black Coach is absolutely one of my favorite models in the whole range, which is why it is on the GM screen.
Nice. Yeah, I'm looking forward to finally painting my Night Haunt for Underworlds.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't paint. Like, even I went to art college and I am crap at painting. So like, and that's painting on a big canvas. So I would not be able to paint good Night Haunts. Like, I would just dip them in blue or something. Like, I'm done.
You may be surprised. I mean, my wife does a lot of canvas painting, and I try, and mine turns out awful. But if you start to look at minis as like a paint by numbers, like that's what I call it to my wife, you could do some pretty decent work. I would be interested in seeing what you could pull off. I'm sure you have some friends you could borrow some paint from when...
I do like my mate actually. He got me. I can't remember what, but like this is the zombie T-Rex from Tomb of Annihilation from D&D, and he like painted it
Nice.
up for me. He did an amazing job. Like I have boxes of minis there that I have from various board games, and I just give them to him. I'm like, hey, paint these, please.
Yeah.
And he's excited. I'm like, haha, I've tricked him.
All right, and now this one comes from Throt the Unclean, and we were talking about this before we went live.
Yeah.
And you know what? This has been a huge question ever since the archetypes first started to get announced. Were Seraphon not in the book because of the timing of the release of their Battle Tome and update in tabletop AOS?
I would say pretty much, yeah. Like we didn't want to put something out and then have it be immediately kind of out of date, essentially.
Right.
Also, the Soulbound mechanic with the Seraphon was a bit wonky because, you know, are they real? Are they coalesced? Or, you know, what are they? So that kind of, it didn't really fit the whole setup that we went for with the Soulbound setup. So that was kind of what the Seraphon were. That's on the cutting room floor, unfortunately.
Well, there's future books to try and squeak them into, I think, eh?
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, so I just tried to pick a winner on this, and like I was saying, this is my first time doing this, and it won't let me because of the 5 attempts that it made, people weren't following. So if I can get you to hit the little heart in the applet there and follow quickly, I will be able to get this done again. And I apologize, this is my first time. It's not my fault. Anything other question-wise popped up? I don't think so. Alright, so I seen a tweet about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago that was saying that you're looking for more writers.
Yeah, I mean, like we were pretty much always looking for new writers for our various lines. So, Age of Sigmar in particular, you know, Warhammer Fantasy and Wrath and Glory have always been out there for a long time. So you have people that are experienced writing for Age of Sigmar, or sorry, for those lines. Whereas Age of Sigmar as an RPG is obviously very new, so we don't have people who have written for it before. It's, you know, to some extent we're looking at, okay, well, what does a Soulbound adventure look like? And from reading Elaine's Crash and Burn the other day, I was like, oh, this is what it looks like, which is I think people will really enjoy. But yeah, we're looking for more people always to, you know, both adventure writers, lore writers. You know, we have a lot of books that we have coming up. So if anyone is interested, they can DM me on Twitter or however they wish to contact us, and we'll see what we have coming up. If people are dropping a line, to just send like a writing sample or whatever they would like to do.
Awesome, and I think that answers M. Tanny's question, but where does one apply? So you were saying DM on Twitter, Discord.
Yeah, I think if you can send DM on Twitter, and I can send you my email. We have I think it's jobs@cubicle7games.com. I think is the email address. TS might be able to correct me in the chat. I can't remember what it is. It might be on our website. I'm so bad at keeping up with what we have where. I'm fairly certain it's jobs@cubicle7.com, which would be another avenue to get through us.
Also, looking into the far future, are there plans or interest in making a Soulbound expansion from the point of view of each Grand Alliance?
I suppose like part of the reasoning behind the Soulbound is it can encompass, well, you know, 3 of the 4 Grand Alliances, because you know there's previous there where you've had Nagash and Sigmar and Gorka Morka allied with one another. So having the Soulbound is like, okay, well, you have an Orruk Ardboy Soulbound. Great, happy days. Those are things we would like to explore in the future as to playing other archetypes and things like that from the other factions. Whether they'll be Soulbound or not, you know, I can see Destruction Soulbound, yeah, absolutely. I feel like you could do some of the Death factions maybe as Soulbound, like you might have, you know, some of the vampires, or I'd love to see like a Flesh Eater Courts Soulbound, because they're one of the few death races that don't really ally with Nagash. Like it's almost, they're still sort of against Nagash, which means they would be able possibly be up for joining Soulbound, depending on their views on the world, if they think that they're helping these poor unfortunates reclaim the world. But yeah, exploring the other factions, I think, is something that we'd like to do. How do you, if you have a Skaven Soulbound, what does that look like? Which I think I see Meth in the chat there. We will find out in his stream, I think, what a Skaven Soulbound looks like.
I'm afraid.
Mm. For those interested, actually, the free adventure should be coming out in the next, I would say, 25th. We're hoping for the week of the 1st or the week of the 8th of June. There's a couple, we have to go through proofing and a little bit of art and layout and stuff like that. The adventure itself is a lot of fun for anyone who didn't see. You start in Hammerhall, Aksha, and you join a huge Caradron fleet on its way to Brightspear, which is our city where we have the starter set up. So it's an introductory event. It's free introductory adventure to playing Soulbound, but also leads into the starter set as well. So of course things don't go well on your journey, but I won't drop any spoilers. But the adventure is a hell of a lot of fun.
Nice. Is that one set up like a one-shot deal, like the one that we just seen from Wrath and Glory, or will that take a few more sessions to get through typically?
I mean, I played part of it last night with my group, and I'd say we probably have 2 sessions left, but my group plays really slow. So I'd say you're probably looking at maybe 2 sessions anyway.
Cool.
I can't see people getting through it in 1 session, but it depends on your group. I would say maybe 2 to 3. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm just asking from my standpoint on how many sessions I need to schedule on the stream to run that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
All right, so I'm going to try this again now that I've seen some people have followed to pick a winner. Aha, Devil Pup 16, you have won. If I can get you to send me a DM on Twitch here or in Discord, if you're on the Discord, then I'll get that arranged with you. It won't be until early next week due to, GDPR. I am going to get you to send an email to sales. I was talking to Don about that one yesterday. We don't have that here in Canada, that we have to really watch out for that stuff. So
yeah, GDPR is a nightmare. You can get like €1 million fine if you don't adhere to GDPR.
Yeah, so we figured it'd just be easier. I'm just going to do the draw, and then I'll let the parties that are involved kind of deal with that aspect of it. So yeah, I said that we would go for about an hour. Stream's been going for an hour. We've been talking for about 45 minutes. Do you have about 15 minutes left?
Yeah, I can do 15 minutes. If anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to know about any of the upcoming books, chuck it in there, and I'll see what I can do.
Awesome. Yeah, what is it? It's like 8 o'clock there, so it's Saturday, but still. Yeah, I think that kind of covered off everything that I seen in our mock-up living interview.
It took way longer than like 2 months, which I'm sorry for.
No, that's no problem. Like we talked about it. I totally get it. I'd rather have you put that book out than talk to me, because hey, we're doing it now anyway in a better format, I think, than doing a text-based Q&A.
Sure, yeah.
Which, I mean, I've done the text-based Q&A with TS in chat, and then I had who did I have last time? I had JG O'Donoghue.
JG's great.
Yeah, I really enjoyed what he was able to provide for the last Radder. Being able to see the way that things come together from the art side of things was really interesting. It's not just the artist having a bit of a direction and going off with what he had in mind. There was a lot of back and forth by what it looks like. Okay, so we got one here. Will there be a chameleon skink archetype? Okay, so let's just say that this will be the last Seraphon question. We don't want to make Emmet awkward.
Yeah, we had some wonderful skink art sketched up early on that is sitting on my computer somewhere, which we may be using in the future in a bestiary or something like that. But yeah, it's some really nice stuff. But we'll see what happens with Seraphon. Who knows? I will say just that they will not be in the Champions of Order book, which is coming out later in the year. Because we are focusing on the Lumineth.
Nice. So what can we expect from that?
We've already nailed down the archetypes that we're going to use for Lumineth, which should be a lot of fun. I won't say any of them now. I think maybe from the previews you might be able to guess some of them. But so the actual Champions of Order book, with having the Lumineth in that, we're looking to have miracles of Teclis, to go with the miracles that we have in the core book. We have, I think we have 5 miracles for each of the gods in the core book. So what we'll be doing is we're doing another 5 miracles for each of the gods we've already given miracles to. And then we'll probably do another 10 miracles for Teclis as well. We'll have new spells, we'll have new talents, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And then the big thing we want to do in that was, I think I've chatted about this in the Discord, we looked at doing like storm hosts for the Stormcast Eternals, because storm hosts feel very integral to the Stormcast Eternals. So initially we were looking at how we're going to do those, but then we're like, okay, well, if we do storm hosts, we have to do Fire Slayer lodges, and we have to do Sylvaneth Blades and things like that, and suddenly our page count is blown out of the water, and we wouldn't have time to explain what these are and give them their due. So we decided, okay, we're going to put those in another book. So what you'll have in Champions of Order is each faction is going to get a new archetype. The Lumineth are going to get 4 archetypes. So every faction will then have 4. Stormcast will have 5 because Stormcast get 5. And then you'll have different sub-factions that you can choose from. So basically what we'll say is, you can they'll each get what is essentially a species bonus that you already see. So you can have that replace the existing species bonus, or you can get both. Basically, depending on what the GM wants to do. It'd be roughly the equivalent of a talent like we already have in there. So each of the little factions will get their own species bonus that you can take as well.
Cool.
Which would be nice.
So I think that covers Cripple X's question. What content can we expect from Champions of Order outside of Lumineth? I think you covered that off. Are there any plans to explore the history of places like the Great Parch in Greatwater Depth? In Greater Depth. Like detailed aspect, like I'm running our Learn to Play in, what is it, the Flamespire Wold?
Oh, yeah. In Batar. Yeah. I mean, one thing we tried to do with our supplements and things, and we've done this for Lord of the Rings and for all of other stuff, we don't really go for RPG encyclopedias. We like to make the books a bit more functional and cramming as many adventure hooks in there. So we're probably unlikely to go, okay, well, in this year this happened and this year this happened, but the history will be built through anything we do. Like I think you'll see in the starter set that you do, you'll get a lot of history about the Agilaraxian Empire and then Brightspear and the country of Asperia, or whatever we want to call it, and that history there. But the history kind of comes out through playing the adventure and through what you see in the city. It's not like some of the older campaign settings you go where it goes into detail on this happened in X year, this person was king, this person was killed, all that kind of stuff. So a little bit more functional, I would say.
So like referencing it towards, like, say, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay that has such an in-depth, honestly, a 30-year lore to pull from, you'll be going a little bit more shallow but broad.
I would think so, yeah. I mean, if we went into depth on certain areas of the Great Parch, we'd never get to any of the other realms. Like, what we tried to do with the Great Parch guide in the core was give people a lot of information that they could use to kind of kick off their adventures. We'll be expanding on that. You'll see some of it in Cities of Flame with a number of adventures, and then we have the Anvil Guard Shadows in the Mist adventure series coming out, which you'll get a lot of detail on Anvil Guard. The starter set will give you detail on Brightspear, and we have some other plans for another book down the line, which we haven't announced yet, which we might put out. But again, what we'd like to do is then, start to transition to some of the other realms, do some other cool stuff there, and give people more of an insight into how those realms work, rather than getting too in depth on one specific region.
Right. Yeah, I think that kind of helps from a. I'm not going to say for everybody, but from a GM standpoint, when you're fighting lore itself, like trying to make things work, it's kind of nice not to have a lot tied into that, to be able to roll with what we need to roll with as it comes up. I see there's a lot of debates like on the Rat Catchers Guild where people get really dug into the lore itself because it's canon. It's, well, as much canon as you can get, but it's published. It is known. So going a little bit looser from the AOS standpoint, I think is kind of cool, because like I know some of the lore, but I don't know everything, and I don't want to be bound to it if I do some things that don't obviously fall into it.
Yeah, I mean, like I played D&D for years, and we played a lot in the Forgotten Realms. And like I liked Forgotten Realms. I knew a lot about it from playing like Baldur's Gate, Icewind Dale, and reading a lot of the Drist books and stuff like that. But I never quite felt as comfortable like GMing Forgotten Realms. I played a couple of games in it, but I didn't like GMing it because you had this now big, beautiful Forgotten Realms campaign guide.
I had that.
Yeah, it absolutely lovely. The kind of creamy red, it was absolutely lovely.
Yeah.
But I never felt comfortable in it because I didn't feel like I could just make stuff up off the fly, because I might be wrong.
Yeah.
Whereas in Soulbound, I think you can be a bit more open. You can go, okay, well, this is over here because no one's gonna question you on it, and I do that in my own home games or whatever I'm doing as well.
I gotta figure out how to word this. When it came to creating some of the lore for Age of Sigmar Soulbound, what were you given freedom-wise from Games Workshop to go into some of the lore? Like, were you allowed to change stuff? Were you allowed to add stuff? Obviously, anything that you're adding would have to go through approvals and whatnot, being the IP holder, but...
Yeah, I mean, Games Workshop have been fantastic to work with. They gave us access to so much stuff. We got to look at some stuff before it came out. We went over and visited them. They showed us a lot of cool things. We had really good chats. We chatted to Phil Kelly and things like that. The Games Workshop are really, really enthusiastic and helpful with everything on this. And we didn't need to create a whole lot because there's so much there that was already incredible that they had, and really evocative they had already created. It's just we got to dig in and expand on it a little bit. And again, I think it came through when we sent to Games Workshop. They'd come back with notes and be like, hey, maybe this, actually, this is going to happen in the future. Maybe you should amend this here, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was just more so expanding on some of the cool stuff that was already there. I think like the only thing that we really created, I think, was Brightspear, which is a new city in Asperia, as this just a new place for us to go, and that players can have the freedom to play around in. And it gave us exactly what we wanted from the city. It gave a chance to, okay, well, this is a new city of Sigmar. Here's how cities of Sigmar are built, because that's important to the rest of the world, and be able to see that happen as you play through it was really important for us. So that was a nice thing to be able to add to it. And then I opened like White Dwarf one day and Brightspear was mentioned in it. I was like, oh, holy shit, which was really, really cool. So yeah, no, that's been really great. GW have been fantastic to work on, and they've been super helpful with everything that we have. And I can't thank them enough for the 360-degree view of the minis on the website. I could just basically send that link to the artist. Like, there you go, make it look like that.
Yeah, that probably would have come in handy. So now this one's for my own.
Oh, the Trade Pioneer as well.
Yeah.
The Mostory that Rune created, that absolutely everyone loved, and is now.
How can you not love it?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, that was something that as Cubicle 7, the company, we're trying to do a lot more of artist-led stuff, because you see the success you have when you let that happen, because everyone on the team has so many ideas. We have, JG, one of our artists, Daniel, Sam, they will just draw stuff, and we're like, okay, well, what could we do with that? We can do something really cool with that. And then Rune did the Trade Pioneer and did this absolutely amazing, like, astral ferret with star patterns on it, and everyone loved it. So then, boom, it's in the game. And they were like, okay, well, these guys travel around so much, they have a ferret that has these star patterns on it. Okay, well, maybe they're actually a star chart. They're like a living compass, essentially, or a living map, which is just absolutely incredible. Be able to add that in there as well.
Yeah, it was very neat to see that when the art first came out. I don't think I've seen anything in the Soulbound core book, but when we start to deal with a lot of these different realms and creatures, and even our own languages as humanity, what is the possibility of getting like a glossary of words that people have difficulty pronouncing? Like, I know there was some talk when the game first started to have some posts come out on pronunciation of certain things, like the proper way to pronounce Heish or Haish or
Hish.
Yeah, Gyran, Akshi.
I think it's Giran. I feel like I've heard that from the tippy top. I think it's Giran. I could be completely bloody wrong though. Yeah, I mean, I've seen Wizards with their D&D books now. They have persona, they have pronunciation guides for the characters in it. It might be nice to do. It's something that kind of slipped my mind to some extent, really, but it's something that we could do in the future, maybe with some adventures. But pronounce it whatever way you want. It's your way of doing it.
Yeah, it says the person that doesn't have to moderate the Discord when people can get very heated in their debates.
Yeah, how do you describe how it sounds in text?
Yeah.
And then you have Ulgish, which is between Ulgu and Hish.
Yeah.
Even now I'm like, yeah. Mustori is pronounced Mustori. There you go. That's the only one I will plant a flag on.
Yeah, and like Throt says, archetype, archetype. There's a few different ways to do it depending on your English itself. Like one of the quick conversations that you and I had when I was going through some of the proofreading was the difference between, like, say, North American English versus English or Irish English. It's just different spellings you'll do over there across the ocean, whereas we have it a little bit different here. So a word spelled like this.
Poor TS with a civilization with a Z and all that kind of stuff.
Well,
but then we have Chris. Yeah, Chris is one of our editors, but he's American, so he's going through, and we have Sheena, who's one of our editors as well. She has a whole guide of British to American English and the things that often trip people up. The weirdest one on that was actually channeling, because generally in British English you use double L for like traveling and channeling and stuff like that. But actually, channeling in British English is traditionally used one L. But it looks wrong because everything else is double L's. So we ended up going in and changing that to two L's. It's just, it's just this real wonkiness of language.
Yeah, and here I am stuck in Canada where we have a little bit of all the worlds. It's like, okay, which one do we do? We have the U's in a lot of our words, whereas the Americans don't, but then we have American spelling for other stuff, and it gets confusing sometimes. So people who do this as a full-time job, like you were saying, Sheena and Chris, it can't be easy.
Yeah, no, I appreciate them so much.
Okay, so that brings us up to our time here. So yeah, I would like to thank you immensely for spending the time on your Saturday day off to come and join us for a bit of a chat.
No, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. We should do it again.
I think so. And you know what?
I have more stuff to talk about.
Yeah, and you, when we were doing the Deadly Dispatch playtesting there, you brought something up between some of the others, which I may try and grab and get the three of the producers roped in on.
Yes.
I'm working it over in my head. How the fuck would that actually work?
I want to do it. I think we should just tell people, because then we have to do it. But basically, I think that we should do a game where we have someone run the game, and each of the producers plays a character from their system using their rules. So I'll play a Soulbound character, Podrick can play a Wolfrup character, and Zach can play a Wrath and Glory character. And I bet I will win.
Yeah, no, yeah, we'll have to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to have Zach on here as well in the near future once he gets all the stuff kind of sorted out.
Yeah, Zach's good dude.
Yeah.
Good dude.
All right, so yeah, we got some thank yous from the chat as well.
Yeah, thanks, folks.
Yeah, for anyone who isn't familiar, I'm going to see if I can remember the command for this. Emmet does talk quite frequently in the Soulbound Discord. It is an unofficial Discord. I am the mod for that, and we have a bunch of the C7 folks in there, which have made the waiting for the game kind of fun, because we get little snippets of what they're working on. We get the odd time where you get TS in a good mood and he will talk for like an hour.
Yeah, me and Tess had a lot of good talks over the course of the coming up working on Soulbound. For anyone who doesn't know, TS basically wrote the entirety of the Great Parch chapter, I think, and wrote a chunk of the rest of the book as well. And it is, it's really fantastic stuff, really evocative. And we have plans, and we have chats about things. So hopefully we can share more of those in the future. But yeah, I mean, one thing we're trying to do is try and keep people up to date a bit more. You know, regular updates on the website with, hey, here's what's coming, here's where it is in production, because sometimes things slip. There's no way you can get around it, unfortunately. It happens, I think. But just trying to be a bit more transparent with people on that, so they can understand. There's real people working on these, and we are working very hard, and we just want to get it out. Trust us.
Yeah, it's appreciated to know like what's going on. Obviously, some things are out of your control, but just to have some back and forth feedback and interaction between the dev team and the chat is really cool to help. Honestly, help hype it up as well.
Yeah, no, it's been really great, and I've already gotten some really good suggestions in the Discord and on Reddit and RPGNet and stuff, which I've already made it into the book. Just a few little things that if I see something and it starts to niggle at me, I'm like, yeah, that's probably wrong. So it's definitely something that I consider at times, and we might have like a week or two before we have to lock the PDF down.
Awesome. Yeah, that's still some time to get some things in.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Cool. Thanks again, Charlotte. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Yeah, like we're saying, be kind of cool to do something like this again in the future.
Yeah, definitely. Now that I have a good mic, because I realized how bad my audio was when we were playing Deadly Abyss back.
Oh, did you replace it since then?
Oh god, yeah. I was using my laptop mic. This is
right.
This is like an actual proper mic.
Yeah.
Although now that I say that, I never actually checked to see if it was using the right mic on before I joined the call. So
no, you sound really well. That was one thing I noticed when I started doing a podcast recording for Coriolis year before last. When I switched my mics up and then switched the positioning of my mic, everything changed. It was like night to day. So yeah, I can appreciate that upgrade. But yeah, no, you sound perfect on my side of things. Hopefully the chat will hear it as well. For those of you who are listening after the fact that didn't get a chance to catch us on stream, every Saturday I do almost every Saturday I do a Learn to Play stream where we dive into a new game for about 2 sessions, and then during the week prior I'll typically do a character creation short stream just to get used to the game that we're getting into. Our second session of Age of Sigmar Soulbound will be starting at, what time is it? 12 p.m. PST, which is GMT -7 on Saturday, May 30th. Yes. You'll be able to find myself, Elaine, Rune, Keza, and Lolnades continuing our quest as we go through this for the first time. And then sometime next week, maybe I might be doing something special on Tuesday. I haven't decided that yet. Thursday, you'll be able to find me here, probably doing character creation for Punk Apocalyptic, which is a new game that just came out from Kickstarter by Robert Schwab. T.S. Lucart also has an adventure written up for that. I was looking at running that on our stream game, but it is for expert players, so that put a squash on that. So I'm going.
Has his fingers in all the pies.
You know what? He does. I kind of made a comment to that when I did my Q&A with him for the Radar, was like, it seems like everything is turning up TS. Like, everywhere you go, he is there.
I get away from him.
Yeah, even an ocean across, and you can't get away.
Yeah. That was one of the bummer. TS was actually supposed to come over and visit the office, but obviously the little pandemic put paid to that.
Yeah, hopefully next year we can have our conventions going, and you folks can get to them, and hopefully I can jump aboard to go check one of them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty of time for it.
Yeah, this is just a small setback. This is just a delay in everybody's future plans.
Yeah, exactly.
For my Learn to Play streams, I am always looking for people to be on as players. I've only got I only have a big enough list to try and get people on there. That's worded weirdly. I don't have a lot of people to choose from to be able to reach out to try and get on my games. So I'm looking for people who are interested in trying new games out to basically sign up. I have a Valkyrie Gaming Discord set up for that, which should be in the chat, and anyone listening after the fact, not on chat, I will have all of these links in the show notes later on. I've got some of the games starting to get scheduled in. Just let me pull that up quickly. Schedule, okay. So June 6th and 13th, I'll have Punk Apocalyptic up and running. And then on the 20th, I've got a friend of mine who is in the Wrath and Glory Learn to Play. Going to be running a Mithras one-shot. I'm going to need players for that. I have Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition going through the starter set on the 27th and the 4th of July. And then following that, some ideas I have down is, unfortunately, I got this scheduled in a little bit too late. The One Ring, 1st edition. I have like all of the books for that, so I figured this would be a perfect chance to try and play it before
You know who else wrote on that?
Hey?
You know who else wrote on that? TS.
Yeah. Well, and also you were going to be producing all the new stuff, and yeah.
I got my name on some of the books. I got my name on some of the Adventures in Middle-earth stuff.
Nice. Yeah, I don't look at that one. That's the 5e stuff I don't get into. I've got like the One Ring game set. I got Coriolis planned, and you know what? Laugh all you want. I'm going to be running Tales of Equestria. So screw y'all.
Hell yeah.
I mean, you know what? My take on that is, if I'm doing a Learn to Play stream, why not have something on there for the kids?
Yep.
Right?
Absolutely.
Why not?
I'm waiting to get my son watching Tales of Equestria or I'm not sure what series they're on now, but one of them.
Yeah. For those who aren't familiar, it is a My Little Pony RPG. And then I got Lancer on the list. I've got like a whole big list of games to do. I may change the format as time goes on, but yeah, for now it works. And I think that kind of covers about everything that I need to say.
Cool.
So, again, thank you for joining us on here and
yeah, thanks so much. I really appreciate it.
Things.
Yeah, I'm going to go have a whiskey because I am a living stereotype.
That sounds awesome. Unfortunately, I don't have any, and it's only 1:30 here, so.
Oh, Canada has some great whiskey, though.
I prefer Tullamore Dew. That's my favorite go-to.
Tullamore Dew. My granny is from Tullamore.
Nice.
We used to get... she's from Connemara. Connemara is the other good whiskey. But Tullamore Dew is nice.
Yeah, I like mixing that with Canada Dry. It's really good.
Anyway, I better go.
Yeah, we're not off topic, not at all. Anyway, thank you,
Yeah.
everyone. Hit me up
Thanks
in
so
the
much.
Discord. I'll be on here for about 5 minutes more for letting the chat roll through. Come say hi. Come stop by. Until next
Cool.
time, thank you.
Thanks, folks. Look after yourselves.